Hey, this is Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic podcast, and we are sponsored by Reps, Virtual Reality, First Down Playbook, Rack Coach, the Top Hopper, Sideline Design, Sports Workbook, and Tip of the Spear. Today, we have Coach Phillip, Russ, and he is here today. He's from East Rutherford High School, and he'll be talking about revitalizing program culture and visibility. Coach, thank you for coming on today. For the guys that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, Coach, and where you're from.
Yeah, like I said, my name is Phillip Russ. I'm at East Rutherford High School, currently sitting in the role as athletic director and head football coach. Just a little bit about me. I was fortunate enough to play high school ball in Cleveland County, which is like right next door adjacent here. Had an opportunity to play Division II football at Catawba College in Salisbury, North Carolina under Chip Hester. And then kind of got my opportunity to jump in coaching. I think the greatest calling is a coach. We get the time and the opportunities to be around kids and influence. And I learned that even in college, the influence that I had, I've kind of been several different places. Started out a career at Salisbury High School. Fortunate, my first ever coaching opportunity. We won the conference, we won the regional, and we won the state championship in 2A.
Yeah.
It did bounce around. More or less leaned on my faith and let my calling kind of carry me into different areas all across the state of North Carolina, even into Florida, and then landed me back here in North Carolina. 13 years in the coaching game, and countless of individuals that, I've coached and got to be a part of their career and their passion. I've seen guys go all the way up to the NFL, and I've got other guys that I've coached that are breaking out in their coaching career, that are real prominent assistants and across the state of North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. So it's really been a awesome experience. I would say I'm almost halfway point in my career, and it's already blessed me beyond measure. And excited to see what the next 15 to 20 years kind of hold for me.
Yeah, brother. Well, we're thankful to have you on here today. I'm gonna put your screen up. I'm gonna take my my screen off so people ain't got to look at my face, because now, Coach, I'm a TikTok star. Yeah,
Awesome,
man.
awesome.
Yeah, Coach. People actually give me gifts, fake roses, and even one woman gave me the galaxy. I mean, good gosh, that's impressive, ain't it?
It is.
Right, so I'm gonna put the screen up here. I'm gonna take my screen off. All right, hold on. It's my mic.
All right. Pretty much what I want to talk about today, and that's really big for me. And I feel like every place I've been a part of, we get this. I guess you would just say it's a charge word, the word culture. So with me, it's every program, whether it's living, decaying, growing, evolving, beginning, whatever, it has a culture. And really for us, when we took this job at East Rutherford High School, the staff that, I was fortunate enough to get to join me, we looked at basically just a role of being jumper cables, just pretty much we were able to come in, see the current state of the program, and we realized real quick, and we were fortunate enough to have the support from administration to say, hey, this is how we need to attack getting football back the way it was and back to the standard at East Rutherford High School. And that was through several, I guess you would say several of the key points of what we were trying to do. So with cultivating the culture, where do you start? And a lot of times coaches speak on this, and I think it's all about relationships. You got to make it fun. So we had to figure out ways to implement music. Kids these days, I'd say their musical tastes are not alignment of what I listen to, but that kind of gives them a drive, award decals on their helmets. How do we award those decals? How did we give apparel? Kids are all about, in today's age, is about content, apparel visibility, and to be involved in a group. COVID-19 was something that tremendously affected the youth of today. I mean, they were forced to be recluse in their rooms and in their homes for education. Their sports were taken away, and so they jumped into a content-oriented world. So we really started trying to refocus on utilizing social media. So basically, just real quick, to kind of give everybody here an insight of what we had in our program. If you start from the bottom up, because I believe we're living in a present where our 10 toes are, we're down, we're active and engaged. But in 2020, 2021, our JV varsity team had 52 players in our program. Varsity went 0-7, COVID hits, head coach transitions out to a new program, and then 19 players transfer to surrounding programs. So in 21-22 was the year that I joined the East Rutherford staff, was hired here, and was presented probably the most unique situation. I don't really say it was a problem. It was unique. And I love in our sport to have adversity. So in a JV only season, we started in August with 13 players, had 2 juniors and 11 freshmen. So we ended up with 38 players in the program. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. We went out to Wendy's. We got people out of the drive-through line. We went to grocery stores and we took all the baggers. Then the school year started and we were still kind of low on numbers and undecided what we were going to do. Man, I'm telling you, recruiting the hallways. If you could chew bubble gum, walk down the hallway, not trip over your own feet, you were a football player. If you were on the soccer team and you were like the third string goalie, but hey, you always wanted to try to play football, man, we gave you an opportunity. If you was a baseball guy, strongest dudes on the baseball team with the baseball coach, were able to pull those guys. So we recruited our hallways, which was really cool because you always want to plan to try to go to the next level. So we got to be college coaches in our building. We had to really rebrand visibility of who we were, what we were wanting to be, what our program stood on, and why we wanted everybody involved. So then you see as 22-23 evolves, then our JV and varsity team, we had 62 players in the program. And then we got back to really great numbers in 23-24. We've got 68 players in the program. So how that grew and how that was able to develop is what I'm about to share with you. The big thing was building relationships. I tell people all the time, if they know you care, then they will play hard. You've got to be relational, not transactional. And that's something that I feel like is something that we as a coaching staff, something that I've really kind of pushed through my coaches, ingrained, is if the kids believe that you love them and they believe that what you're selling is genuine, they're going to give you everything they got. I don't believe in jumping in a program head foot or head first into the pool and just being an aggressor and, hey, this is the philosophy, this is the playbook, this is what we got to do to win. No, I get in there. Tell me about your mom. Tell me about your dad. Tell me about some of your hobbies. Do you have a girlfriend? Do you want a girlfriend? What kind of car do you drive? What are some things about you? Do you play other sports? What makes you click? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Because if I'm trying to sell the football dream and that's all it's about, and this kid's kind of indecisive, you're going to lose them. And we're really big proponents of using the L word. And people's like, what is the L word? Love. Something that's really funny that we speak on is I tell all of my kids every day that I love them. And it's genuine. Like I talk with them through life. We do life on Wednesdays. We call them Life Wednesdays. We will have a lighter day in the weight room and we really just sit down and we break bread and we talk about, financials. We talk about getting jobs, interview, and talking to college coaches. What does recruiting look like? How important is it to, consider military service? What does it look like to have all these types of events and things going on around you? And how do you sell yourself in a room to get a job or to make a friend or how to be, relational in your classroom. And so we told them, I said, hey, you got to start with love first. So when I hire a coach, it's funny when they start with me, the first couple of weeks, it's like, hey man, coach, I love you, man. See you tomorrow. And it's like, yeah, you too, coach. And then probably after about 2 months in the program, it's like, hey man, I love you. Yeah, you too, coach, man. See you tomorrow. And then once they kind of get around me and they, you have to get that adult buy-in. So when my coaches buy in, I mean, there's not a coach on my staff I don't tell that I love them because I do. I love them because, I can't pay them what they deserve and I can't give them what they deserve as coaches and what they give these kids. But what I can do is I can love them to the end. And same thing goes with our players. So the real thing is it's all about relationships. And I think that my hashtag is relational is greater than transactional. I don't want a kid to think that his 540 and his 1,000-yard rush or his 2,000-yard pass is anything more like that. That's all I care about. I care about these young dudes when they get out of high school. I want to see them years from now when they hop out their truck and these little kids get out and they're like, hey, that's my football coach. Or you walk down Walmart and it's like, hey, that's my coach. I don't want them to duck down an aisleway of cereal to try to dodge me. I want it to be genuine. I want them to know that, hey, you can call on me. I've got a young man right now that just graduated basic training in the Army. And he calls me and keeps me updated on his training. And he's like, coach, I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. I'm like, no, dude, you're telling me about your journey in your life. And I love it, man. This is awesome. And you got to be able to have that relationship to keep building. The second thing you got to do is you got to utilize social media. Coach, you were just talking about, utilizing TikTok and being TikTok famous. The kids are fueled by content. Their spatial awareness is built in through social media. So one thing I know that I like it, if somebody tells you you're doing a good job and you're getting showcased, we may be the only guys that get to see their report card that hypes them up. Maybe mom and dad's busy. Maybe they're in a one-parent home. Maybe they're with grandparents and grandparents are doing just enough to get them by. So we took it on like, hey, we're going to be the highlights of everything you do. If you get a certificate for perfect attendance, man, I'm going to root you on. If you make good in a class and your GPA is launching, we started a GPA graphic. And when I tell you, it became a challenge academically. How can we pursue ourselves academically like we do in athletics? I mean, it's nothing to ask these kids fall on the squat rack and drop it parallel or to clean or to bench, but hey, to ask them to really focus on, hey, get that ACT up, get these grades right. So we really started doing that. The parents love to see the kids. I can't tell you how much, when we get it, especially around holidays, man, I really try to flood it when everybody's at home because you got that uncle from Texas and you got that cousin from Minnesota. They come in for Christmas. Man, how's ball going? Hey, well, check this out. Look what's been posted. Look at how I'm visible in the network. And then, you get a chance to promote your community, promote your program. So it's something that everybody can get behind. There's things that my principal talks to me about that he sees our football program doing. It's got to the point now I've got community leaders, different civic groups are reaching out like, hey, can we get your players here to do this? Always push your kids to try to jump in programs. I really am firmly believe that you can't teach a kid to play football for you and to be a servant leader unless you're giving him opportunities outside of football to expand that servant leadership. So we really push that, and we really try to stress that, like, hey, you can't be a Cavalier football and be all in just in this field house and just on that practice field. I need you to be that same guy when you're bagging groceries at Food Line. I need you to be that same guy when you're out on a date with your girlfriend. Be respectful. Open that door. I want you, when you wear our brand, when you represent our high school, you're representing our community and everybody that's poured into your cup. So we utilize social media for that advantage. The second thing is, I think, is just like in any strong classroom or of academics, is being player or student centered. Create that culture that showcases your greatest asset. And we're in a human capital business. I'm only successful as a coach if I have players that can play the game. I can't play the game for them. I've already passed through that. The big thing for me now, we got to take care of our asset. Our asset are children. We got to love them up, grow them up, teach them up, and let them go play the game they love. So it's really creating that showcase piece for your kids. So we take them to unofficial visits. We try to get them initiated into camps, get them into combines. And the big thing that's kind of paid off for us here, that my coaches do an outstanding job. From the top down, we kind of sit down with a visibility model. And that's part of our coaches meeting every year is how can we be transparent? And really transparency starts first in recruiting. I know it's like, hey, you put the cart before the horse or horse before the cart by saying recruiting. Well, when a freshman comes in, you've got to start building his future. Just like in academic, they're like, hey, what's your pathway? In football, what's your pathway? Where do you see yourself? Every kid comes in when they're a freshman, it's Alabama, Clemson, Florida, UCLA, USC, Texas. And we're like, all right, that's great. Let's keep that as a goal. Let's push. But let's be transparent as we transcend these athletes through our program. By the time they're a sophomore, junior, you're starting to see puberty hit. You're starting to see changes. And we just say, hey, look, the big thing for us is camp where you'll play. If you think you'll play here, camp there. Don't go camp with like the Dallas Cowboys. If there's no chance you're jumping from high school to the NFL, don't over exceed your own expectations, your own goals. If you're about it every day and you're training, then hey, go camp where you'll play. So that was a big thing for us. The next thing is engaging everyone in the culture. Culture is not just, like I said, it's not a trigger word. Sometimes, you hear programs and they're like, hey, this is our culture word. This is our mantra. This is our motto. But you got to live it. And if you're not living it from the head down, if the head coach or the AD or the offensive coordinator or special teams coordinator, all the way down to our first responder and our athletic trainer, if we're not living what we are, then we're not living our culture. It's kind of like I try to tell kids a lot of times, it's like climate and temperature. Temperature, what it is today. Climate's what it's been for several months or weeks. We can't be a culture based on temperature. We got to be a culture based on climate. Like, what is this thing going to look like in the offseason? Is it the same program that's in August when we're excited about football season? Is it the same that's, we just got knocked out of the playoffs and now you're trying to get revamped and get the new guys in, the new leaders installed into your process. Like, is it same way across the board? If somebody new comes in, do they have to be force fed by the coaches, or do the players hold it accountable? So you got to know where you want to be. You got to know how to get there. And the first most important thing I think we did as a staff was we met and we said, hey, who do we need in the room that we don't have in the room? And we basically broke down as a staff, because I believe it's servant leadership starts with me. So I have to serve my coaches. I have to look at them and say, hey, like, what do you need to be successful? I want you to focus on football. I want you to focus on character and kids. How do we get that? And how does that transcend into what our process is? So the first thing that we look at is hiring high quality people. Yeah, I want men of character. If you got 28 years of football experience, but your character stinks and your heart's not in it and you're not for kids, I don't need you. Because 28 years of experience is not going to transcend over a relationship that you've got to build with your kids. These are kids. We get them for 4 years in high school. We've got to take them through I guess you'd say, they come out of middle school, they're going through all those emotions, and everybody else says, man, that's a tough year. It's a transitional period. I think high school is. When they graduate, they go into the world, they go into college, some of them go in the military, some of them go straight into the field that they're going to work in the rest of their life. Some of them are getting married, some of them are having kids. We've got to be able to take boys to men. That's a great musical group, but the truth is we're taking boys to men. When they leave us, our goal is to make men. And I think that transcends across our entire profession. So we got to find all in people. I need you all in. And I think that as a head coach, as an athletic director, the best thing I've learned is if you're all in, I can teach you football. I can't teach you how to be a good person. I can't teach you to have character. I can't teach you to be dependable and to be trustworthy and be accountable and to love kids and be relational. I can teach a dude how to teach a 3 technique, how to sift down a down block. I can teach a guy on the offensive line. We're going to pin, pull, and weave in on that backer. I can teach that, but I can't teach you to be a good person. And then the last thing for us that was huge is just promote your program. We do theme games and service games, to bring recognition to our community, but it's really to get my kids around good quality folks. Like, I want my players to meet police officers, not when the blue lights are on and there's a pressure or stress relationship. I don't want it, hey, I was speeding, troopers got me pulled over, I'm sweating, I'm nervous. No, I want those fused relationships early. So I let the law enforcement get around our team and talk to them. I want there to be a good relationship. In our world now, that's a big stickler, is we meet all these people when it's bad. I want to meet them when it's good. Like, I want the fire department to roll in and to meet our guys and let them see their trucks and hoses, not when somebody's house is on fire, not when it's down in the business. Like when grandma falls down with a heart attack, I don't want the first time they've met a paramedic in our community in that moment when it's high stress and it's just super it's just life. I want them to meet them when where they are in their present. So we bring the military in, we talk to them, and I want people to realize, like, hey, we get to play football and we get to go to school and we get to be safe because we got great military. And there's so many branches and there's so many opportunities. I don't want everybody to think, hey, they just chunk grenades and shoot rounds and kill people. No, our military does so many things. And so we do a military appreciation, a first responder appreciation game. We bring those folks in and bring them around our program. We bring in civic leaders. We bring in bankers. We bring in accountants. We bring in old players, alumni that have went off and done it or have a business, or guys that just recently graduated and they come back and they're honest. They're like, hey, school's tough. You got to really get about your business. So we did that and those theme games and that service mentality stuff, and bringing those games, it makes it easier when I take these kids into elementary schools. Man, I'm telling you, there's nothing better to see the accountability model grow. It's like, hey, they meet these guys of where they may be when they're a man. Now they've been taught how to lead, how to be a man, how to be a good person. Now I transcend and bring those kids into an elementary school, and you watch them read Dr. Seuss or Pete the Cat, and they talk through with these kids, and they genuinely show they care. And it just grows, and it grows on my kids. So I want them full exposure, full accessibility to what our community has to offer. I want these kids to come back to their community and pour in. I don't want them to leave and go pour in somebody else's community. That's great, but I want them to come home, make this area better, and give that next level of kid an opportunity to have a hero. These kids have heroes every day, and I want them to be the hero in somebody else's life. The other thing about promoting our program is uniforms, apparel. The cool thing is you can throw anything on a t-shirt these days, and the more visibility you get out there, I mean, it goes a long way. We did a big thing to kind of resurge and re-jump our weight room. We started doing Dirty Dozen t-shirts, perfect attendance summer t-shirts. These kids wear them in the hallway, and I hear conversations where the kids are explaining the climate of our weight room and the climate of our football program to teachers, to other players that may have not ever wanted to play football. They're like, hey, I want a t-shirt. You know, two things I learned in this coaching thing is if you offer free food and you offer free gear, you're going to get kids. It's just whether or not you can coach them up. And then the last thing for me is like building foundation and working together. If you can get everybody in the group to kind of work together and fuse together, it really translates into, it's a beautiful thing. You know, my whole presentation, you know, is engaging the culture. So the things in other little bitty tips and tools that are in my toolbox is identify your student leaders. You've got to find leadership in your roster. Every roster has it, but it's not your best playmaker. I've got a kid right now that every day he will make sure that the locker room's swept, mopped, and all the trash cans are carried out. And I don't know that he's had actionable game time. Game's on the line. He's not the guy that you lean on. But when I'm talking about upstanding, holding the culture and holding the program standard, this kid lives it every day. Utilizing power words. You know, mantras for the season, figuring out what your weight room slogan is going to be. This past season, we went with family. We took it from PJ Fleck at University of Minnesota. You know, family, forget about me. I love you. You know, if we were going to recharge something, you got to forget about yourself, love the person next to you, and give it all in. And then this season, we're going with whatever it takes. If it's a tough day, you're sore, whatever it takes, finish the drill, finish the rep, finish the day. You know, so that was what we're kind of pushing this year. And then becoming involved with the players outside of football. I mean, I attend swim meets, basketball games, baseball games. You know, if they have like a random bow and arrow shooting thing, anything they do, I want to be immersed in it. And then the last couple things, make sure your social media is your go-to. Promote. You can't do enough promotional activities for your team. People only are going to get to see what you do on Friday nights under the lights if you don't have social media. Promote it. Email alumni and donors, sponsors, give them access to your program. The more transparent you can be as a coach, the better you're going to find yourself being successful, because folks don't have to sit and talk about you or wonder what you're doing if you're putting it in front of their face. And they also are not going to act weird when you need, you know, fundraising. You need some funds, you need money to come in the program. Hey, go talk to them, and they know you. They know the kids. Give them something identifiable. And by saying, hey, like, this is the guys this week that are going to be impactful. We think in our game plan, you know, this guy, and this guy are going to help us carry this game. And this is what the opponent's going to look like. And it'll boost your attendance in your games. Think about it. We get so much fed to us on college game day. Why? Because it makes you want to tune into those college games that you might have not tuned into. You get a story about this guy or that guy or this program, and this is a milestone today, and everybody's going to tune in and watch that game. Well, same thing we do. We promote it to try to get people in the stands because our kids feed off of that energy. Pretty much that's kind of some of the tips and some of the stuff that's worked for us. If anybody has any questions, Coach Taylor, if you got any questions, you know, I'm open. Like I said, you can't live transparent if you're not transparent. So anything that you guys want to know or have to ask, man, please, I'm here for you.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. You know, there's always, you know, the young coaches out there. They always want to know like how they can move up or how they can be the head coach. And so what advice could you give to the young coaches out there that may be watching on getting into the profession and moving up and becoming the head coach?
Pretty much, I'll tell you the best thing I can give is what I think I try to live out. I mean, I ask my coaches to hold me accountable every day. Is there's no role within any program that's bigger than you. You know, you need to make it about football, but there's other things in this sport that I think sometimes people want to put beneath them. You know, I've been around some coaches, they're not going to wash laundry. They're not going to run string and paint the field when it's 100 degrees. They don't want to, you know, store gear. They don't want to, you know, clean the weight room. They don't want to take out the trash. And I think that you got to lead by example. You know, as a young guy, you want to be the first one in the room. You take notes. If you're an up and coming guy, you have to understand that you're never going to know it all. If you're not in clinics, if you're not in meetings, if you're not contacting coaches, if you're not networking, I mean, we have right now, the game of football should explode in how much we grow. because now we have every format. We've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, we've got YouTube, we've got in-person clinics. Everybody's got a cell phone. I mean, you've got FaceTime. You can do any type of thing with what we've been given to grow your mentality about the game and your philosophy. I mean, my thing is, if you're a defensive guy, when you go to clinics, don't always just sit in a defensive line drill set or a linebacker progression. Go sit in an offensive coordinator's room. If he's talking about spread offense, and you know in your schedule this year you've got 3 spread offenses that you've got to stop, go see what they're trying to take advantage of. You have to get outside of your realm of, I'm a defensive coach, I'm going to defensive clinics. Man, go sit under some of these offensive gurus and hear what they're doing. Same thing, if you're an offensive guru, go sit under some of these defensive coordinators and hear, hey, if you give you this, how are you going to take this away? Like, ask questions that you want to know. Like, how would you attack it, coach? How would you address it? But really and truly, like, be in the hands and feet. Like, you have to be a great assistant coach before you get in the room. The things that you learn, or that I've learned, is the better I've taken notes, like I'm in a master's level course at a college. If I take those level of notes, even in meetings, when I'm running the meeting on Sundays, I take notes of what my offensive coordinator's viewpoints are, what my defensive coordinator's viewpoints are, what my special teams coordinator viewpoints are. And I even listen to my assistant coaches. You might be the JV offensive coordinator, but you may have a wrinkle to the game plan that we all may have never took it, and I think that you have to be open-minded. As a young coach, you got to understand, man, like, sometimes you're going to fall straight into a job and it's going to be overwhelming, and you're going to take a deep breath and pray about it and try to really lean on people in the business, because, hey, offensive coordinator just took a job. He just got the head coach. You're the next man up. You're the OC. And now you're 2 weeks from spring ball. How do you develop your offense? Or you're a defensive coordinator and you're the JV defensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator on Friday night, hey, something happened to his family. He's got personal reasons, can't be there. Now you're thrown into that Friday night game. Can you game plan and call the defense? Like, how can you be handed the keys and can you drive the vehicle? For me as a young coach, and what I've always done is I felt like people are our greatest asset. You got to love people. You got to be approachable. You got to be transparent. You got to do your job. The second thing is when I say do your job, you need to do everything that you can do and then help out others. Because if you want to be noticed for a job and you want to be in an interview, you got to have references. You got to have resources. The way you gain resources is you dive in with other coaches, you network, and you yoke yourself with it. If you go to clinics and you sit by yourself in a corner, wait until the next session, and you don't ever ask questions, those are the guys that are sitting there 20 years in their career and are like, hey, I've never been given a chance to grow. The guys that grow are the guys that go to the ones that are successful, try to attach, try to take a nugget. I'm not saying every coach out there gives great nuggets. Learn from what you don't like. Say, I don't think that would ever fit in what I want to do. I'm going to support it, but I'm going to take it and twinge it and tweak this to be my style. And I think you got to find your non-negotiables. What are things you're willing to do, not willing to do, in terms of what you're going to sacrifice? Some people sacrifice too much, I think, in their family. Like, you need to be present with your family. I think the best, coach out in California, Coach Hines always talks about is, we can chase the ring that we don't have, but you don't want to lose the ring that you do have. You gotta pour in at the house, just like you pour into these kids at your program. And I think if you find an equal balance in that, as a young coach, just don't be afraid to interview. Put your name in hats. Get in the room. Get used to interviewing. Get used to being uncomfortable. We tell the kids, you got to want to be uncomfortable so you can grow. Well, you got to get an interview. And if you get a chance to interview and you don't get the job, wait until they send you that email and say, hey, look, we've picked a different candidate. Then get some advice. Say, hey, one thing I think I did early in my career that helped me, what could I have done differently? How did you take my interview? What was your read from me? And sometimes I've had administrators send me a list like, I thought this, and this was good. I was a little bit wanting more information out of you here. And some of them will be exactly tell you things you don't want to hear. Like, coach, I don't really think that this jives at the high school level. I think you're more college oriented. Or, hey, I think you need to grow in your philosophy. Or, hey, you need to grow in your 5 to 7 year plan. So really and truly, like, just being open-minded and taking in everything, you can see job opportunities start to increase for yourself.
So other than football, like, are there people that you study or in history or you listen to other than football coaches that help you grow or, become a better coach?
Oh, most certainly. I'll tell you, like, one thing I always try to do is I try to think that here's the box that everybody else coaches in, and I try to find myself ways to get out of the box. So the first thing when I got into coaching is I started reading books. And when I tell you, like my read started out, it was just like everybody else in football. Like Nick Saban, man, he's awesome. Let's read his book. So then I started branching out, getting in John Gordon, Katie Lavelle. We actually have a lady that graduated from the school I'm at currently, Tammy Matheny. And she is a mental health game coach. So I started talking with her. Well, she's got 3 books. This is Good, Challenger Deep. I've been reading those books. So more expansion in terms of I want my program in a brotherhood. So what's the greatest brotherhood in the world? The military. So I've read Green Beret books and memoirs, the Navy SEALs, and it's not just to kind of feast on those great missions. I focus a lot on what did you do during training when it got tough. What bonded you? What were some key things that everybody did in those pieces? And like I said, historically, you can go all the way back and you can look at coaches, but I look at like leaders. What do leaders and coaches mesh? Bear Bryant may have similar characteristics of, say, a president or a world leader. And what made that mesh happen? Because for me, is we get different types of kids. So it's just like when you're a teacher, you have to go through professional development. You got to learn how to address all different type of learners. Well, I've got different learners in football. So a great example would be I've studied Nick Saban, very tactical, detail-oriented coaching. Then I've looked at Coach Cutcliffe that was at Duke and Tennessee and Ole Miss, and his was about relationships and his 10, the 10 points to get him through the game. Like these are the things we're going to lean on. And then you go completely out of the universe and you get to PJ Fleck, where it's high energy, impact, nobody rests, nobody shows weakness, lock in, buy in, here's our principle, here's the culture, here's the view, go, 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 go. And you mesh it all together and you say, okay, well, now I've got a great crock pot of ideas, and now we peel from that. So really for me, it's just reading. I read, I got podcasts. I just found out a new feature that you have on the phone, Coach, that you can speed that thing up. So I can get 2 chapters in a 20-minute drive instead of 1 chapter. So I'm speeding up, listening to that. The AFCA podcast is really good if you want to break into coaches. And sometimes I try to stay away from when I'm looking for growth. In person, I like clinics. Out by myself, I want philosophy. I want program builders. I want leader developers. So that's why if I'm scrolling and I look and I find a podcast and it's like, hey, this is how you develop this, or this is how you grow this. I want that because I want to hear their secret sauce. Because like we're in a profession where it's not stealing. We're literally just we're absorbing and then we're recreating. You absorb what's something great that you heard from one end and you reapply it into your program. And I think that through 13 years, the thing that I do in my older age now is I read more and I really take a lot more detailed notes on what I read. And I try to grab it from everywhere. I mean, you'd be surprised, a shark and a goldfish with John Gordon goes a long way in terms of when you try to apply it to a high school age kid of like, hey, you can't be given everything. You have to go and attack this and approach this. And then I listen to other folks like Willie Spears is one of he's a very strong speaker. I love motivational speakers. Him, Eric Thomas, probably one of the best coaches in terms of terms. I can't even think of his name off the top of my head. He's the basketball coach at Texas A&M. He was at VTech. He's there now. He puts out great stuff on Twitter. Coach DJ at Virginia Tech, he puts out great stuff on Twitter. Use every resource there. And a lot of these things, they've just helped grow me as a coach. And I feel like the more I grow, the better I can be for my kids.
Yeah, no doubt. And Coach, you're impressive, man. It isn't like, this could be like someone could watch this and this could help them get ready for a job interview because you're talking about the things that are important. And when you go on a job interview, it isn't the exact answer to the question that you're the answer. The person is the answer. Like you live it. There's nothing they could ask you in a job interview or a media person that you wouldn't be able to answer because you have such a wealth of knowledge because you're such a learner. I say that the greatest coaches of all time are the greatest learners.
For sure.
And the greatest teachers are the greatest learners. How can you be the best teacher if you're not the best learner? And when I learn about you, you learn about me. And then
That's it.
I learn about you. I learn about myself, so I loved it, man. Is there anything else that you would like to say that you haven't touched on, or how can people get in contact with you, Coach?
Uh, I'm easily accessible through Twitter. I love engaging and networking with folks through there. I mean, I think it's growing our profession. It's helping me network with guys from across the United States, and that's huge. I think clinic stuff are great. Reaching out to me through Twitter is huge. My cell phone number at the early of the presentation, people can get that. You can email me here at school. Like I said, I'm an athletic director, so I'm getting emails about tennis balls, volleyballs, rainouts, whatever. So I'm going to catch your email. But one thing I feel is there's nothing that I hold that I've got trademarked that's copyrighted or nothing. Like what I want is I want this game to grow, because at the end of the day, I'm not sitting in my chair if great coaches didn't pour into my cup. I think
Mm.
my cup runneth over in blessings of what's been poured into me. It is emotional for me to talk about it, because some of these men, I watch them be fathers. I watch them be good husbands. I watch them be good teachers. And then I remember how they left their thumbprint. There's so many thumbprints. I tell people all the time, man, if you put a black light on me, there's so many thumbprints of so many great men and women that have touched my life, that have just, I would be doing a disservice to them, and I would not honor them if I didn't go out every single day, live out my passion. I'm my college professor, Dr. Cindy Ostrees, always said, your vocation needs to be your vacation.
Hmm.
Your vocation needs to be your vacation. I go to work every day, and I feel like my light gets brighter because I'm in my purpose. My calling is to fall into this purpose, and I feel like, with everything that's ever been given to me and all the blessings poured over my life, I'm expected. Like I feel the charge every day. Every day I do my devotional. I do pray over my kids. I pray over my school. There's intentional pieces. Like when I tell you, like if you're a faith-based person, you need to make that a part of your daily work. Every Tuesday morning, this morning it happened. My team chaplain comes in. We talk about every coach on my staff that has anything going on. We talk about our players. We talk about our students, our community, other schools in the area. And we just have an open 30-minute prayer where we just sit around and we pray over our folks. Because that's just something that's important to me. It might not be important to others, but I'm going to live out what I talk. I'm not going to be a verbalizer. I'm going to be an actionable person. The things that mean to me is like Chip Hester at Catawba when I played there is always you can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? And I try to walk my walk every day. I try to grow. I try to be a better version of me. I can't ask the kids to be 1% better every day if I'm not attempting to do the same. And so that's just something that charges my life. I don't need coffee. I don't need Red Bull. I sometimes tell people, man, I'm charged up on the Holy Spirit and the energy of these kids, and that's all I need. As long as oxygen's in my lungs, I'm gonna live it, and I'm gonna give my best every day.
Amen, Coach. I'm gonna press in, Coach. We'll stay here and chat for a second, but I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
me. Appreciate
thank
it.
you, brother.